We've come a long way from Bloomburrow. Duskmourn just got its first big preview at PAX West, and I'm here to show you everything that's going on in the set that we know so far, all the mechanics, a bunch of new cards, returning characters. So let's dive right in to what looks to be one of the creepiest Magic sets of all time. And our first card here we can see here is kind of a wild one. Looks like a split card, not exactly though. We have Dollmaker's Shop or Porcelain Gallery, or both. So this is an enchantment. This is a room. This is a new type of subtype for enchantments. And basically what this means is this is two cards in one, where you cast Dollmaker's Shop or Porcelain Gallery. It comes into play as an enchantment. And then while it's in play, you can spend the other mana cost and sort of like activate the other half as well. So Dollmaker's Shop is 2-mana enchantment. Whenever one or more non-toy creatures you control attack a player, make a 1/1 toy artifact creature token, which is pretty good, honestly. It's a matter for, enchantment makes 1/1 tokens every turn. It's kind of cool. And Porcelain Gallery is 6 mana for a enchantment. It says creatures you control have base power and toughness equal to the number of creatures that you control. So that's pretty wild. It's kind of Coat of Arms-esque, and you have a lot of things in play. They're all really, really big. These cards obviously play very well together, and obviously very cool that you're most of the time going to play Dollmaker's Shop for 2. It'll stay in play for a while, and then later in the game as a mana sink, you can play the gallery. So kind of like adventure style in a way, although the card stays in play as one single enchantment, so one disenchant could destroy this. But pretty cool, really creepy art, which is going to be a lot of stuff in this set. All the poor kids that started playing Magic in Duskmourn, I feel for them, all right, because they're being put through the ringer here. So we'll see more of these. Of course, it's the first and only room we've seen. It's a mythic. I assume we'll see a decent amount of these, but kind of cool. This is a very enchantment-based set and a very horror-based set. And to get to our next card, I want to remind you, of course, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, support the content, look for 10 new brews and my set review and Bronze Mythic as well, and doing the whole thing here. Bloomburrows just happened, but we're doing Duskmourn too. Next up is Enduring Innocence, and this is definitely a kind of a graveyard set and an enchantment set. And then Enduring Cycle looks to be one of each rare like this. White 1 for a enchantment creature, Sheep Glimmer, 2/1 lifelink. Whenever one or more creatures you control, whenever one or more creatures enters the battlefield under your control with 2 or less power, draw a card only once turn. So we've seen this effect pretty commonly lately. It's limited to 1 a turn, but still a very, very powerful card draw effect. Then if it dies, if it was a creature, return it to the battlefield only as an enchantment. So this is a really powerful effect, right? We have a 2/1 for 3 with lifelink, so it's a decent body. You can block if you need to. That can draw cards. When it dies, it just comes back as an enchantment and hangs around and draw more cards. So this card seems great, honestly. Card seems really, really good. Lifelink is huge here. Being an enchantment matters also, as we'll see as the set goes on. But this just looks like an early sleeper for me. Card seems really great. Other enchantment stuff we got going on here is Vlaglof Slayer. This is an enchantment land. This is the first ever enchantment land in Magic that sticks around. Obviously, Urza Saga is an enchantment land, but goes away in 3 turns. And as we know from artifact lands, putting a subtype on a land is really, really powerful when there's good things to do in the set with enchantments, which of course we'll see more of. It's got hexproof, which is kind of good. Honestly, you can't disenchant it. And otherwise, it's just a mana fixing land. ETB's tapped, choose a color. We see this as a common usually in most limited formats, but of course, the enchantment type here matters a lot for Constellation and older formats, and then new things we'll see as well. So kind of interesting to see this as a rare. I think this being a rare shows how powerful this effect can be, and we'll see how it goes. Again, really creepy art here, though. Disturbing Mirth, black-red for an enchantment. When it ETBs, sacrifice an enchantment or creature, and if you do, draw 2 cards. When you sacrifice this card, Manifest Dread. This is a new enchantment, a new mechanic. So we see here first and foremost that we see an enchantment that cares about sacrificing enchantments, and is also an enchantment itself, which is pretty powerful. And then Manifest Dread means basically to manifest, which means to put a card face down. It's a 2/2, and it can turn face up for its mana value at any time if it's a creature. However, Manifest Dread means look at the top 2 cards of your library. 1 gets manifested, 1 goes to the graveyard. This is huge for your graveyard synergies. And as we'll see, Delirium in a little bit. And as far as just putting cards in the graveyard, it's good anyway. And a little selection here too, right? So you might hit a creature and a spell you don't want, or whatever else it might be. That's pretty cool. So Manifest Dread's going to be really good at filling your graveyard, because you always see 2 cards, and they're both likely to go to the bin. Leyline's Return. It's an enchantment set. Everyone likes Leylines, right? I mean, I don't, but someone out there has to, right? New white leyline. Obviously, all leylines are 4 mana enchantments that start the game in play for free if they're in your opening hand. And obviously, with an enchantment set, having an enchantment in play is valuable. But this says if you gain life, you gain that much life +1. And then if you have 7 or more life in your starting total, creatures get +2/+2. Don't think this is going to be a very viable card. In standard, leylines are just too inconsistent usually, but we'll see. Scribbling Skull Crab. We have Eerie, a new mechanic here. Not really that new, right? This is just Constellation with a little bit extra stuff going on here. Eerie says whenever an enchantment you control enters, and whenever you fully unlock a room, do a thing. So in this case, target player mills 2 cards. This is really important. It says target player, so you can target yourself with this Hedron Crab style, and therefore enable your own graveyard synergies. Probably what this card will be used for more than actually milling your opponent. But this mechanic here, you can see here, just Constellation with an extra step. It's just enchantment fall, and then if you unlock a room, which is set specific. But I imagine it's going to be an important mechanic for this set, as Constellation was too, so look for more of those. We got Overlord of the Mistmoors here, another new mechanic. Impending Force. This card can be cast for 7 mana, or you can spend 4 mana and put it in play with 4 suspend counters, basically. But instead of being in exile, it just sits there as an enchantment. So it'll stay in play for as an enchantment for 4 turns, and then it turns into a creature, which is cool, honestly. It's kind of cool to see a way to cost a big creature if I can stay in play not as a creature and then grow into a creature. Love the mechanic's name here. Impending is very fitting. So what we have here is 7 mana 6/6. Whenever it enters or attacks, make 2/1 insect creature tokens flying, which is very, very good, honestly. So this is 4 mana, 2/2/1 flyers, and an enchantment that sits in play and will eventually turn into a huge creature, which is a 6/6. This also triggers all of your enchantment effects while also making the tokens. Cool card. It's a mythic for a reason. This card is very, very powerful. Obviously ridiculous and limited, and just a cool card in general. We see Impending again here on Overlord of the Haunt Woods. 5 mana for a 6/5. This is Impending green 1, Impending 4 again. Whenever it enters or attacks, create a tapped colorless land token named Everywhere. That is every land type. So Utopia, if you will, for you longtime players. And that's pretty cool. So 3 mana, get a land, it's just a rampant growth, and then it just sits there, and then eventually turns into a 6/5 that will grow. And for 5 mana, it's also very castable too. This card's good. Honestly, kind of a cool rampant growth effect, also a cool enchantment fall effect. And if also these enchantments counters for Delirium and stuff too in the graveyard, which is nice. So, Manifest Dread appears again here in Unwanted Remake, sick art. 1 mana for an instant, destroy a creature, and its controller Manifest Dread. This is a big trap card for me, folks. You don't want to give your opponent resources, right? Letting them put a card in their graveyard, scry a little, and get a 2/2 is a huge cost. And this isn't even exile, so I think this card's kind of a stinker, but good luck at the mechanic. Hauntwood Shrieker is next. This is a mythic rare. Green 1 for a 3/3. Whenever it attacks, Manifest Dread, which is really powerful. Again, so you get to make a 2/2, put a card in the graveyard, and if you can flip it, maybe 2. And then 2 mana to reveal any face down permanent. If it's a creature, turn it face up. So if you hit a huge creature with this in your Manifest, this you can flip it up for super cheap, which is really cool as well. No ETB trigger here is a little tough, but this is a pretty powerful card. Obviously, an insane bomb and limited. Veteran Survivors are the new mechanic here in Survival. So you have a Savannah Lion, 2/1 for 1. With Survival, any of your second main phase, if it's tapped, exile to 1 target card in your graveyard. So basically it has to survive combat. You can tap it other ways, which is kind of cute. So a little bit of synergy build around here also. And then if there are 3 or more cards exiled with this, it gets +3/+3 and hexproof, which is pretty good, honestly. So we've kind of a graveyard hate 1-drop. It's also a human, which is kind of cool. Cool little card, honestly. I think this is definitely going to be player constructed. Graveyard hate's going to be important. All this graveyard stuff going on. Demonic Consult, 2 mana for a sorcery. Search library for a demon card. Reveal it and put it in your hand, then shuffle. If you have Delirium, you can search for any card, put it in your hand, then shuffle. So Delirium returns popular graveyard mechanic. Delirium counts the number of card types in your graveyard. So in an enchantment set, that should be reasonably easily to hit. Also, the graveyard things happening here. And when Delirium's on, you get a bonus. This is a Demonic Tutor with Delirium. And again, really, really cool art. Winter, Misanthropic Guide, a Jund Legend. 4 mana for a 3/4 with Ward 2. But if your upkeep, each player draws 2 cards. So a little bit of group hug here. Delirium, as long as there are 4 or more card types among card types in your graveyard, each opponent's maximum hand size is equal to 7 minus the number of those card types. So if you have 7 or more card types in your graveyard, their max hand size is 0, which is honestly kind of gas. So that is That's sweet. Feels like a commander card, obviously, but we'll see. You know, it constructed reasonable effect, and if you're a super delirium deck, you draw some cards, but giving your opponent's cards is kind of rough. So more of a commander plan, I think, but looks pretty cool. More delirium-esque things in Peer Past the Veil. We have a Gruul format instant, discard your hand, draw X, or X the number of card types in your graveyard. So if you have like 4 more types here, this can draw a lot of cards, and discarding cards gives you delirium too. This could be a good one, honestly. You know, if you have delirium and your hand is 3 cards, you've drawn 4 new cards. If you've gotten up to crazier, you know, deliriums here with battles and enchantments and kindred cards or whatever, this could do a lot of stuff. So kind of a crazy card, kind of a weird build around in red-green. Usually you would think it's more of like a blue-black card, but pretty powerful and really, really cool art again. Some returning characters. Kaido, Bane of Nightmares, from for a Planeswalker with new Jitsu. Is that a good idea? I don't know, maybe. 3-mana new Jitsu this, and then during your turn, as long as this has 1 or more loyalty counter on it, it's a 3/4 ninja and it's hexproof. So it can die in combat, but can't be targeted. And you can plus it to give your ninjas an emblem for all your ninjas, which is kind of weird because like there aren't any ninjas in standard right now, I'm pretty sure. So it's only this, but for older formats and commander, kind of cool. And then 0 mana Surveil 2 and draw a card for each opponent who lost life this turn. And then -2 tap a creature with 2/2 stun counters on it. So this is obviously a commander focused card, right? This card's obviously much better in commander than it is in standard. That being said, it's still a pretty interesting planeswalker in standard and constructed formats, because just getting it in and, you know, pumping itself and drawing a card is kind of cool, but we'll see. Feels like more of a commander card to me. I don't know. Zamone returns also and wants you to count your prime numbers. 3 mana for a 1/1. Beginning of your end step, if a land enter the battlefield under your control of this turn, and you control a prime number of lands, create Primo the Indivisible, a legendary XX fractal, put a number of counters on it equal to that number. So just as a reminder text, 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23, 29, and 31 are the prime numbers. And that's it. There are no more prime numbers. That's obviously not true. They decided to stop because there's an infinite number of prime numbers, but whatever. Kind of a cool card. Obviously, sequencing-wise, you need to play it at certain times, which is kind of weird. But it's kind of a cool card, right? Weird returning character from Strixhaven. We'll see. Volgazvoth Terror Eater is here as our new big reanimation target of favor in all old formats. 9 mana for an Elder Demon Flying Lifelink. Ward, sacrifice 3 non-land permanents. This is a killer ward cost, folks. This is a 9/9 Flying Lifelink that is basically unkillable in the early turns. And if a card you didn't control will be put into to an opponent's graveyard. If a card you didn't control will be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, exile it, and then during your turn you may play cards with this. If you cast a spell this way, paid life, use mana value. So this card's kind of ridiculous. Obviously, this is a reanimation target, and it really isn't that scary except for older formats where reanimate and friends exist. Like, if this thing gets reanimated on turn 2, I'm not sure how your opponent beats it without like a sweeper or without an edict effect. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of hate cards like this, honestly, where it's just like they try to make the most ridiculous, biggest, stupidest thing they can. That's, you know, only good if you're reanimating it. And I don't know. We'll see. Creepy art. Not my favorite. Razorkin Needlehead is here also as a human assassin. Remember for a 2/2, first strike on your turn. Opponent draws a card, they take 1. Likes the card a lot. This is like Orcish Bowmasters done right. Counts all draws and doesn't blow you out. Doesn't make a huge token. Doesn't kill all your creatures, but still punishes you for drawing cards, which is cool. Honestly, it's cool to have cards like this. Card's cool. Like it a lot. That's all I got. So that's our Duskmourn preview. Obviously, many more cards to come. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, support the content. I'll be doing my full set review for this set on the 18th, I believe. We got 10 new brews. We got Bronze Mythic, and all the usual things I do here on my channel. So if it's the first time here, make sure you follow, and let me know what you think. Duskmourn, folks. Check it out.